What's going on, guys? This is Michael Cooper, aka Coop from the Big Scoop with Coop. Just let you know I'm here live right now with Roy Cooper and Bill Clinton. Check it out.
It's so good to be back home in Rocky Mount. You know, I used to practice law just 3 blocks that way for many years. This is where I grew up. Right in that Rocky Mount High School gym is where I blocked Phil Ford's shot. You got to remember that? You know he got 52 points that night, but that's all right. He's endorsing me in this campaign for governor. He sent out an email saying that Roy Cooper will be a great governor, a much greater governor than he was a basketball player, which was really hurt. You know what we need to do in this election. We are 2 weeks away. We know that as for decades, you could travel across this country and tell people you were from North Carolina, and the first questions you get would be about our great universities or our technology or our mountains and beaches. Now the question you get is, what in the world is going on in North Carolina? Well, on November 8th, we're going to tell them what's going on in North Carolina. Because for the last few years, this is not who we are as North Carolinians. We're a state that believes in public education. We just had Governor Jim Hunt here, Dan Blue, who's going to be our next state treasurer, Congressman G.K. Butterfield. I know we've got Representative Shelley Willingham. We've got a lot of people who believe in our educators. My mom was a public school teacher. She was a good one. I go all over this state, and every once in a while somebody will come up to me and say, I want to pay you a compliment. I'll think they're going to tell me something good. They say, your mama was the best teacher I ever had. That shows you the power of education. And we need to make sure we invest all the way from early childhood, K through 12, our great community colleges, and our great universities. We need a governor who is going to put the best interests of our citizens ahead of partisan political ideology. We're going to accept the billions of dollars that we have already sent to Washington that could come back and ensure hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians with Medicaid expansion and create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs. We want to make it easier for people to register and vote rather than harder for people to register and vote. We want to emphasize renewable energy, and we want to make sure our water and air is clean. And we all know the challenges in rural eastern North Carolina. I just got back from Edgecombe County and touring Tarboro and the town of Princeville, working on fighting post-storm scams as Attorney General. But talking to the people there, we know that here in eastern North Carolina, we are resilient. We are strong. We know we have economic challenges, but we need a governor and leadership in this state who recognize those challenges, who know how strong eastern North Carolina is, and we are going to be better than ever. We're going to rebuild, and we're going to make eastern North Carolina the kind of place where we want to raise our kids, where we want to start a business, where we want to support agriculture. We are going to be better than ever. And on November the 8th, and before then, remember, at Braswell School, that poll is going to open up on Thursday. And we got to vote. We need everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Roy Cooper right now. So I will be back up here when this is downtown Rocky Mount, guys. So I guess it's time. Never mind. Bill Clinton. He's coming.
Rocky Mount today to encourage you to support our presidential candidate, to encourage you to support us in this governor's race, our Supreme Court race with Mike Morgan, our U.S. Senate race with Deborah Ross. We know that we've got a lot of good candidates, and he has come here today and is going to go across eastern North Carolina talking about how important this election is. I'm going to introduce to you a man we have a little bit in common in that he was Attorney General of Arkansas. And the president and I had a conversation one time about being state attorney general. He says that was the best job he ever had. And this has been an incredible job for me. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you as State Attorney General, fighting for everyday people, serving as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of this state. But he is here today to tell you about somebody that he believes should be President of the United States. This president started the Children's Health Insurance Program that I was able to help expand here in North Carolina. This president believed in education. This president just didn't talk about lowering the federal deficit. He lowered the federal deficit. And this president presided over the longest period of peacetime economic expansion in our country's history. And I am here, it is an honor and a privilege for me to introduce to you the 42nd President of the United States and the next First Gentleman, President Bill Clinton.
Thank you. Well, hello, Rocky Mount. Thank you for coming out today. I want to thank Roy Cooper. I did tell him being Attorney General was the best job I ever had, but he didn't tell the joke line. Unlike being governor or president, you don't have to appoint or disappoint. And if you do something really unpopular, you can just blame it on the Constitution. He will be a great governor, and I want you to make sure he wins. I want to thank Dan Blue III, our candidate for state treasurer. You know, his dad was my co-chairman in North Carolina in 1992 when we came less than 1% of winning. I lost the state by less than a point. And this time, I want you to correct it for my family and make sure Hillary wins. I want to thank your other candidates who are running. Deborah Ross is not here, but I think she'll be a great senator. I hope you'll send her up there to help enact this program. I want to thank your Congressman, G.K. Butterfield, who I think is, stand up there. I love talking to him because I always learn something. He actually believes it's a job being in Congress and it matters what you do. I want to thank your former Governor Jim Hunt, who's been here with me. I think he's gone on to vote before our next rally. When I met Jim Hunt, I thought he was a force of nature. And a guy said, I said, what's the secret to his popularity? He said, well, he told somebody a good friend if he voted for him. He told somebody a great friend if he gave him a contribution. He says he's a pretty good friend if he shook his hand. And a friend is anybody who ever drove through North Carolina going somewhere else. I want to thank the people who've spoken before, Chris Williams, our organizer, and our volunteer, May Parker, and thank you, Allison Pinto, and thank you all. First, I want to say I'm sorry for those people who lost loved ones or property in the hurricane. I came to North Carolina after Hurricane Floyd, and I came to eastern North Carolina, to Whiteville, in my last year as president to talk about the importance of connecting small towns in rural America to the American economy and the American future, and that's still on the agenda today. So I want to do something that's relatively rare in this, how can I say it? This has been a fairly unusual election. But we should embrace it because it's given us a chance to define who we are as Americans. And the thing I hate about the election is that Hillary's opponent's strongest supporters often in their real lives have more in common with us than they want to admit. They just are drawn to a different approach to dealing with it, right? She offers answers, he offers anger.
True.
He offers resentment, she offers empowerment. He offers conflict. I'll give you somebody else to blame and look down on. She said, the only thing that's going to get us out of this mess is cooperation. And he says we ought to approach each other and the rest of the world with walls. And she said, I don't think so. We can't get away from one another. Let's try bridges. So let's talk about what this election means for you and for people who live in small towns in rural America, everywhere. It's been a tough 15 years since we went back to trickle-down economics, and then we had that awful crash. It's been tough in small town and rural America. There's a lot of road rage out there because too many people are still living on what they were living on after inflation the last day I was in office. Roy talked about the deficit. We had 3 surpluses in a row for the first time in 70 years because we were growing together. This campaign slogan of Hillary's, growing together, is more than just 2 words that sound good. It's a philosophy that leads you to certain, not only specific proposals, but it's a way of thinking. We need shared prosperity. We need to embrace our diversity, not reject it, and say anybody who's willing to work hard, obey the law, contribute their fair share to our common good, they ought to be part of our community so we can rise together. So what does that mean? It means connecting small town and rural America to the successes of the American economy and giving everybody a chance to learn and earn. And it's fairly straightforward. The things we need to do are achievable, affordable, and clear. We can create, for example, more than 10 million jobs in America by building a modern infrastructure. Now that's a gobbledygook word, but it basically means roads, bridges, ports, airports, rail lines, seaports, but it also means something else. And you need all that. You need more connection to the rest of the North Carolina economy. It also means making sure that every single school child in this country have access to affordable broadband so they can get on the internet and learn what they need to know. It would also help the economy in small towns in rural America, including in eastern North Carolina. It means that there are a lot of kids in this country with elevated lead levels in their blood who don't live in Flint, Michigan. Everywhere there are rusty pipes, we ought to tear them up and put down clean ones and give all our children a healthy future. It means if you want a clean energy future, sometimes the sun shines brightest and the wind blows hardest where not many people live. So you need modern transmission systems to take the energy from where it's generated best to where it can be best used. Every single job I just mentioned, millions of them, would be done by Americans, and they pay above average incomes. We can do this. Just on the infrastructure proposals alone, a man who advised Senator John McCain, not a Democrat, a guy that advised John McCain when he was running against President Obama, says that Hillary's plan would create more than 10 million more jobs, and her opponent's plan to give more taxes to millionaires and billionaires and hope it trickles down to the rest of us would cost us 3.5 million jobs. So when anybody asks you what do you have to lose if you don't vote for Hillary, tell them 14 million jobs. I don't think I'll give them up.
Guys, I'll be back up here in a few minutes.